to order. Roll call. Mr. Ferrara?
Yes. Ken DeWitt.
Here.
Mark Finkel.
Here.
David Bergstrass.
Here.
That's the Finance Committee. Board members Albert Hayes.
Here.
Jeffrey Rosenthal.
Here.
Staff Robert Leslie.
Here.
Robert Fulton.
Here.
John Hudson.
Here.
Stephanie Wozicki.
Here.
Richard Ferrara. Here. Mr. Chairman.
Motion to adopt the revised meeting agenda.
I'll make that motion to adopt.
Second. Bergstrasser.
Mark.
Mr. Finkel.
Approval of August 1st, 2017.
Let's have a vote. Just a vote.
Yeah. All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Approval of August.
Opposed. Just for the record. Anyone opposed?
Approval of August 1st, 2017 Finance Committee meeting minutes.
I'd make the motion.
Mr. Bergstrasser.
I'll second.
Mr. Finkel.
All approved?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? New business?
Mr. Chairman, there's nothing, the board is not going to approve anything at this point. This is, the purpose of this finance committee is to have a discussion of the first draft of the district's next 3-year budget cycle, which begins July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2021. I provided in the board packet that draft budget. There was a page missing, which was all forged, which I gave each of the members. That's why you had that single page. It was an oversight on my part. Staff and Chairman DeWitt had a discussion this past week just to get clarification around some of the items in the draft budget. Basically, I think the important components of the budget that I think we need to discuss at this meeting, which is basically what we discussed at the workshop we had with the chairman, is basically just the significant items of the draft budget, which largely revolve around the maintenance plan that's been proposed by the chief engineer, which affects both watersheds. And the important component of that maintenance plan would be the introduction of debt service for both areas. The other aspect of the budget we talked about was the effect on the assessment for this next 3-year budget. The draft that I propose has basically a 0 or less than 1% increase in the Hudson Black River area, and in the Hudson River area, I believe the increase was actually a decrease in the Hudson River area. I think it's 4.6% or 4.8% decrease. Two different things at work in the two watershed budgets. In the Hudson River area, this upcoming 3-year cycle will have a significant non-assessment income item for the first time in the budget, and that is the Section 10F revenue from the Hydus who are actually paying the 10F fees. That's $477,000 and change for each year of the next 3-year cycle, which is $1.4 million. So that's a significant income item that is allowing us to not only maintain and stabilize the assessment, actually at the end of the day decrease it a little bit. So that increase actually absorbed the additional debt service that would be necessary to complete additional projects around Comptonville that were not covered by the previous EFC bonding, and additional bonding that would be necessary to do Indian Lake remediation. So that's a good thing. On the Black River side, a little different story. On the Black River side, there's, I believe, 3 projects contemplated in the maintenance plan that Rod can certainly get into some of the details of. They would be in 6 Lake Old Forge, the Hawkinsville remediation, and Stillwater. That debt service would have otherwise, without finding an assessment income item to stabilize the assessment, would have actually raised their assessments substantially. So what I have recommended in this first draft is to use $1 million of Hudson River area surplus to pay down the principal of the note that the Hudson River owes the Black River back from the financial crisis that the district was in. So that one-time pay down, which we would just allocate evenly over the 3-year budget, $333,333, would enable us to stabilize their assessment at a zero increase.
Kind of like what we borrowed from them, we're paying back to their
We're
benefit.
using what-
They need it.
Correct, and we're right, that would bring the
Pretty
note
good.
that we owe them down to about $1.4 million, I believe, or $1.5 million, if we made that, if the board were to ultimately approve the draft budget as is, that would drop the principal substantially.
That makes sense.
Other than that, the rest of the budget in both areas is fairly static. Personnel are basically staying fairly static. I think at the end of the day, I don't think we have the head count going. I think the head count basically stays right where it is. We have some people retiring and some replacements. I think we have one replacement in the Hudson River area. That would be engineering assistant, which is in the budget.
Yes.
There is one person in the Black River area budget, an administrative assistant that would retire in the second month of this upcoming cycle. We're contemplating not replacing that person. Did I miss anything? I think that's pretty much it in terms of the personnel side. We will be operating in a smaller footprint in Albany, and we will be operating at a smaller footprint in Watertown. So we've reduced 2 offices. We're not adding any offices. We have the same facilities, same structures. On the statutory benefit side, the pension costs will go down for the first time since probably 2008. Salaries are basically along the statutory changes in either the union agreement or the management confidential guidelines, and there's some equipment purchases that are not very significant.
Right.
Tractor here, log boom there. 70,000 in the Black River area. I don't believe there's anything even substantial. There's a vehicle in the Hudson River area for SFO.
I don't know if this is the right part of the meeting.
Sure.
What are we paying on the roof?
The roof, we're going to talk about the roof. We're going to talk about the roof during John's report, I believe.
Oh, okay.
We do not stand on the weak parts of the roof, those that might be.
So
I need a roof, so I need to get some
So the
information.
roof will be done outside of the needs to put anything in this upcoming tree.
Okay.
So the roof will be taken care of. So I think probably the thing I think the most important thing to discuss would be some of the aspects of the maintenance plan.
Okay.
That is the change in this year's 3-year cycle,
Mm-hmm.
is the debt service.
Is your work scheduled for Indian Lake too, or
There is
down the road, or?
proposed remediation for Indian Lake also.
Okay.
As well as Conklin Lake.
Okay.
This basically details by year what will happen in the next cycle for the projects that Rob is contemplating.
Oh, very good.
Right.
This way, if Rob gets into some,
Yeah, that particular table is just an extension of the memorandum that I think the living memorandum that I've given the board. The most recent issue was back, looks like in September, which outlined the remediation projects that are proposed at each facility. Conklinville, we're doing a pretty in-depth investigation, evaluating foundation, looking towards the grouting of the rock foundation and improvement of the concrete structures. Indian Lake, we're just about ready to enter the final design phase with Indian Lake and Bergman Associates, and it will likely involve some modification to be able to pass the design flood and potentially some stability work on the non-overflow masonry dam section. Stillwater, we're actually still in the analysis stage. There is actually an item on the agenda which precedes some of the other engineering work that we might need to do. So we're a little bit earlier in the schedule, not so far down the road in terms of Stillwater. Nonetheless, there is money, you'll see in that table of engineering and construction expenses all the way out through 2027. There is some money, at least in that budget, that's kind of some budgeting for some remediation. Again, assuming worst case condition. However, I'm hopeful some of the engineering studies that we're doing right now will reduce, if not eliminate, some of that work. So, and the Old Forge and Sixth Lake, again, we are in final design stage. Just about to start that with remediation anticipated at the end of this upcoming 3-year cycle at Old Forge, and then at the beginning of the following 3-year cycle, 21 to 24, at Sixth Lake. Hawkinsville, it hasn't changed. That's since the last few board meetings, we're working our way through permitting, acquiring the property, the private property that adjoined our spillway, working through approvals with hopefully a next summer start of construction date.
2019 or 2018, the summer of
2019.
Okay.
I was also going to point out that in terms of the bonding, we have EFC already in place at a very,
right.
We had a 1% rate. We still haven't gotten the fixed rate for that yet, but it's going to be, I still believe it's going to be 2.5 or maybe below. The new bonding, which would be for Indian Lake, Old Fort, Sixth Lake, the other projects, will be serial bonds that the district will go out to the open market using an underwriter. And I've met with Janine Caruso, who the district has under contract as our fiscal advisor, and she offered 2 very good pieces of advice and recommendations. One is to use as much of our own cash and surplus to perform the early engineering, not borrow it right up front with what we believe the construction will be. And in that way, once we get through the engineering that we would have paid for with surplus, and you get closer to the construction aspect of it, we'll have a much better idea what that construction might look like. We'll have a much tighter number, and then we'll go out to market and bond both. We'll bond the engineering we've already paid for, replenish the surplus, and hopefully get a much better rate and also get a much tighter number on the amount that we really need to bond. Because at the end of the day, the board's going to have to pass a bond resolution to perform this work. Her recommendation, it was one of the minor changes I made in the budget, was to use 4%. We're not going to get an EFC rate. And she believes because of that for a couple of reasons. The district has not gone out to bond in 30 years of any substance other than what we did back in the 20s and early 30s. So without a Standard & Poor's rating, any kind of bond rating, it's going to be a little more difficult for us to get, that AAA rate. The other thing is there's a deal having to do with how you package the offering that would sometimes get you a more desirable rate. She's not sure that we can. There's not going to be a whole lot of tremendous interest in this kind of offering. We don't know until we get there, but she wouldn't bet on us getting a ton of interest, which means, and a lot of it having to do with whether or not the note, the bonds would be tax-free. That's the other issue. I believe our bond counsel said that because there's a commercial interest at the end of the day in both areas, the Black and the Hudson, with hydros along the rivers gaining the benefit of these projects, that reason alone would prevent these notes from being tax-free. I know. So you're out there in a market where there's still, a lot of good, paper out there that's tax-free, and then, we're going to have to sell ours, which is not going to be tax-free. Will be a higher rate that the people will be getting, but, how it works. I'll take it a little lower if I don't have to, claim it in tax, in terms of taxability. Yes.
I used to sit on the IDA board, and the whole purpose of an IDA was that they underwrote projects that were commercial so that they would get the tax-free rate.
Right. Well, this...
I don't know. I'm not an expert in this. That's the whole purpose of an IDA.
My understanding is that the key driver behind tax-free versus not is the commercial entity that receives the benefit of the work. So if a school budget, if you do a school budget, there's no commercial entity that's gaining a benefit because they're building a football field or adding something to the school. But
I'm not disputing. I just know when the IDA built Spalding, the reason Spalding came to us is because when we underwrote the project, it made it a tax-free project on the bonds. I don't know. I'm just asking.
Again, we're gonna, it's not really an underwriting issue. It's a marketability issue.
Yeah, no,
we'll get it underwritten.
Yeah.
We'll get an underwriter. We'll do the best job they can do to get it out there to the market. And at the end of the day, interest in it may be a little lower because again, there's a lot of good paper out there still. The bond market has been incredibly resilient.
Okay.
So, and we're not going to know that until we get there. But again, the advice of using our own engineering money to get closer to the point of construction, I thought was great advice because we know exactly, we'll be closer to what we think a construction number will be, but
More marketable item?
Well, again, we will be going back, if we get closer and we know the number, we're not going to be going back to the board saying, hey, we got to take this bond resolution and crank it up or whatever.
Okay.
So that was the other couple of things I wanted to mention to the board. Now, just going forward, there'll be a finance committee meeting at the June meeting, which will hopefully move an accepted past budget to the regular meeting. And at that finance committee meeting, we will have amortization tables for the proposed bonding as tight as we can get them. So there'll be another level of detail that we'll provide to the board. Anything that the board wants between now and then in terms of detail on any line item in the budget, you just have to reach out to me and I will get you anything. I'll answer any questions you have. I'll get you any documentation that you need regarding any line item on the budget. But
if you could give me that early, I'm not going to be able to be here at the June meeting.
Oh, you're not? Okay.
No, I have to be someplace else. But if you could get me that information.
So that means we need the
sorry.
other two members of the finance. We need a quorum for the finance. Okay.
Sorry, but if you could give it to me early so I can look at it.
Whatever you need. I'll without you asking, I'll get you amortization payments.
Yeah.
So you can just get a sense for where some of these debt service numbers are coming from by project.
Right.
So that'll get out to the entire board, not just the committee.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Anything else? You should, excuse me.
Adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?